Today, we start a new series. OP's family has a lot of problems with very particular things. So this story, we will see that her brother has some serious control issues. Without further ado, let's throw another log on the fire. This story happened approximately 12-ish years ago, when I was 10 or 11 years old, and a completely starry-eyed newbie at D&D. Nowadays, I'm a pretty seasoned player who's also wrote some of my own campaigns, but we all start somewhere. I was always fascinated with D&D since I was very young, because my dad and brother played it, and I looked up to both of them a lot. I also loved the concept and I liked fantasy, so I was in fact very overjoyed when they finally let me in on the fun. Now that I'm older, I can recognize that my brother and my dad aren't actually great DMs. My brother especially. This story in particular always comes to mind, and it took me a combo of years and meeting new people to finally realize that my brother was being a jerk for no reason. And some people are just bad DMs. For context, my brother is 8 years older than me, so he was 20-ish here, and he disapproves of everyone and everything. He's one of those DMs who hate it when players have too much fun, and for him, the rules come first before anything else. He's also super high and mighty about the different editions and swears by 3.5, and openly says that people who play 5e are mentally deficient. This story is just one example of his approach to D&D. So I'm a very excited kid who knows next to nothing about the rules, and boy was I ready to go on an adventure. I rolled up a half-elf bard named Onyx. Bards are my favorite, and my cousin and uncle are my fellow party members, but their characters aren't relevant here. This is 2nd edition AD&D, by the way. So after a battle and some looting, the party stopped at a small village, and we had downtime before we set off on our quest, investigating a rumor in a distant city. I had a lot of gold and wanted to spend it, so I thought it would be a good idea to buy a mount for the journey. Because my character was so small, I had her purchase a pony. My brother was not happy about this and asked me several times if I was sure, stressing that this would be an absolute waste of money. I insisted that I was sure because I didn't think it was a big deal. And he didn't know that the main reason I went straight for a pony was because my brother had a companion who rode a pony in a separate game that my dad was running, and I wanted to emulate that. Anyway, I buy my pony, and in an attempt to sound more grown up and serious, I named him Snake Eyes. My brother didn't hesitate to tell me how stupid he thought this was. I was hurt, but we had an adventure to go on. So Onyx and Snake Eyes were only a little bit down the road when I realized that my brother was not going to let me off easy here. It was quickly established in the narrative that Snake Eyes was the most stubborn, uncooperative, ill-tempered pony you could ever meet. He constantly tried to bite at Onyx, wouldn't listen to a single command, and kept trying to run off at every free moment. It was quickly becoming unfun for me, and I started to resent my purchase. But I pressed on, trying to hold on to any optimism I had left. We came across an illusion of a fire, and we couldn't convince Snake Eyes to walk through it. I understand the logic here, but my brother practically held up the game for 20 minutes trying to force me to abandon my pony by making it refuse to continue. After a lot of deliberation, my uncle suggested that we blindfold Snake Eyes and lead him through the fire, which my brother begrudgingly allowed. Finally, we were setting up camp, but I was feeling pretty bad, 11-year-old child guilt, and was trying to build some kind of bond with Snake Eyes by feeding him apples and petting him, but my brother made it clear that Snake Eyes still absolutely hated me. Anyways, in the middle of the night, orcs attack our campsite, and we had to defend it. Despite being tied to a tree, Snake Eyes managed to free himself in the confusion and took off running into the forest, never to be seen again. Well, at least until we found his corpse later, gutted and strung up in a tree by orcs. I was very upset at the loss of my pony and my money, and as a kid, I found this a very discouraging introduction to D&D, because I wanted to have a pony like that other character, and my brother had to ruin it. After the session, I confronted my brother and asked why he had to be such a jerk about my pony, and why he had to make it uncooperative and desperate to run away. And he just shrugged and said, "It's your fault. You should have bought a war pony. They listen better. R.I.P. Snake Eyes. You are still missed." Why is family sometimes the cruelest? There is no reason to not have a pony, especially when you provide it as something that can be bought. If you didn't want it to exist, you could have just said no if you really want to. Also, there was definitely no point in adding multiple insults to injury by describing the brutal end of the beast, as well as saying you should have done this instead. What do you all think about this situation?